Welcome back. On Tuesday, November 8th, today's guest will face off in an election to serve on the bench of Louisiana's Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal. Joining us is Chief Judge Laurie White of Criminal District Court in New Orleans and Judge Regina Bartholomew Woods of Civil District Court in New Orleans. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
So let's get right to it. We're having a forum. One of you is going to win this race. There won't be a runoff because it's just the two of you on the ballot. Let's start off with our first question. I'm going to start with Judge Bartholomew Woods. Tell the viewers, what is your name? What is your platform in a nutshell?
Well, my name is Regina Bartholomew Woods. I am a judge at Civil Court, and my platform is simple. I just believe that judges should have a even-keeled and great judicial temperament. They should work just as hard as the people who have elected to serve, who they've elected, or who've been elected by the people, and they should have a deep and broad background. And I believe that I possess all of those qualities and have shown that since I've been on the bench at Civil District Court, have shown that throughout my work as a lawyer for public service as well as in private service, and believe that those skills will transfer very easily to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal is 100% a reading and writing court. 75% of what we do at Civil District Court is reading and writing, and so those skills will just transfer very easily to the Court of Appeal.
Okay, so to make sure, I want to sum up your background, your experience being on the Civil District Court in New Orleans translates nicely to the work that would be expected of you in the Court of Appeal because of so much legal paperwork that you have to review and the opinions that you would write on the Court of
Correct.
Appeal, and your commitment to the community and service, you believe it's kind of a promotion to go from where you are to the Court of Appeal.
Absolutely, as well as my judicial temperament.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned that too. Thank you for adding that. Judge Laurie White, same question, your name and your platform in a nutshell.
Thank you. I'm Judge Laurie White. I'm the Chief Judge over at Criminal District Court. I've been a judge for 9 years over at Criminal District Court, and during that time, I've tried over 145 jury trials and over 60-something judge trials. I've been a lawyer for 30 years, and my experience is much broader than my opponent. I bring to the Court of Appeal not only criminal knowledge, for which my opponent has never had a single jury trial as a lawyer or as a judge, but I also have civil law experience. And the important thing is the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal has 65% of their filings are criminal in nature. There are 12 judges at that court, and only one of those judges has ever had has come from Criminal District Court. So the fact that you have two different platforms, civil and criminal judges that are going to that court, it's important to have some parity with expertise from the criminal side.
Just to get back to you on that, just to sum up, you have a lot of trial experience presiding as the judge over 140 jury trials, 60-something trials where there's no jury, but you're the judge and you're making the decision. The experience in the criminal world, you say, is going to serve you well when you're reviewing decisions that go up to the Court of Appeal, and the other judges on the Court of Appeal, there's an absence or a scarcity of criminal court experience in the Court of Appeal.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Next question, because we're tight on time, and it's not a debate, it's a forum. I want to ask you, what do you believe about minorities, including Latinos, and their access to access to justice and equal justice in our court system? Judge White, I'm going to point this to you. And if you believe there's a concern there about fair justice and equal access to justice, what do you think can be done about this from the view of Court of Appeal?
Well, specifically, the Court of Appeal is where if someone is convicted, that would be the last court, if they cannot afford a lawyer, that they would get a free lawyer to take them to that court. So a Court of Appeal needs to have an expert that's looking at that record, because many minorities and others can't afford lawyers to go to that court. So you need to make sure that their last opportunity to have a case looked at is looked at very closely. you also need to make sure that that conviction, if it was a good conviction or a civil judgment contrary to what they are asking for, is looked at carefully, because if not, it could affect immigration status, and it has so many different collateral issues. I've started a reentry program that has taken in consideration minorities so that they can get a job after a conviction. So that's what I've been doing in the community for the 9 years that I've also been a judge.
Okay. Same question for you, Judge Bartholomew White.
Woods.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
No,
or you think you
I got it.
All
Thank
right.
you. And I'm Bartholomew Woods.
Bartholomew Woods.
It's fine.
I apologize.
One of the biggest challenges that I've discovered since being a judge is the access to justice in terms of proper translation. There are a lot of citizens who reside within our city who have English as a second language and not as their primary language. And so one of the things that I think we need to pay attention to as appellate court judges, making sure that a translator was provided to the defendant, to the plaintiff, because it's not only criminal matters at the appellate court, but there's family law matters, there's juvenile law matters, there's civil law matters that a court of appeal has to understand what's going on. And in order to make sure that justice was equal and access to justice was provided to a citizen where English is a second language, we must make sure that the trial judge correctly appointed a translator, not only just Spanish, but with a certain diction if that person had a particular diction. And whether that's Spanish, whether it's African, whether it's Ethiopian, whatever the language may be, that they have been provided with that translator so that they fully understand and comprehend the process that they've gone through, and make sure that there has not been a denial of access to justice at the very basic fundamental level of even comprehension or understanding what was being said in our native tongue, which may not have been that person's native tongue.
Okay. So access to fair and equal justice includes making sure that at the lower court level, when you're reviewing those opinions, making sure that those people who don't have English as their first language were able to communicate well with their lawyer, the court, during the trial.
Absolutely.
To get, what do they call it, an effective assistance to counsel, and being able to be understood properly with an interpreter who actually speaks their native tongue and their proper native tongue, Honduran versus Cuban, for instance.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Last question. What can you say to the population of Hispanic or Latino or Latina women voters about the reasons why they should look up to you as opposed to your opponent, or just the fact that it's a woman on the ballot as opposed to 3 or 4 men on the ballot, and why they should vote and what that means to them, to understand the importance of voting and the effect of just seeing a woman on the ballot, a minority woman on the ballot. I'm going to ask you to answer that. I think I asked you to start, right?
Yes. As a minority woman, I think that based upon my own family's heritage, my mother and father, who are from a housing project, who came from just the depths of being poor, and not even having the ability to vote, let alone to be placed on a ballot when they were young, and opening those doors for people who look like me, not only women, but minority women. I think it's vitally important that we set a great example for women and minority women who decide one day to be a part of the political process. You have to have a certain cultural competence in addition to having all of the skill in the world, in addition to having all of the book knowledge in the world. And you can't leave that at the door. I cannot leave the fact that I am African American and that I'm female at any courthouse door. It comes with me and it presides in me when I'm looking at something. I'm looking at it through the eyes of a minority, through the eyes of a female. And it makes it just much more sensitive to issues that may come across that may become blind to a man, to a majority man, or to any man for that fact. And I think that it's just vitally important when we have to review domestic violence cases that may get appealed, when we have to review family law cases, when we have to review juvenile law cases, when we have to review civil disputes, and when we have to review criminal disputes, that being culturally competent is vitally important to the decisions that we make every day as a judge. And as long as I continue to serve with integrity, with judicial temperament, then I'm setting the example for other minority women to look up to.
I'm going to try and sum that up. Your experience growing up in a household dealing with socioeconomic struggles. Your parents had difficulty being permitted to vote. Being familiar and connected with your cultural experiences as an African American, as a female. These are experiences that you take and you use to your benefit in carrying out your job as a judge, carrying out your job with integrity, I believe is the word you used. And these are strengths you take with you on the Court of Appeals.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Judge White, same question for you.
Thank you. I've never obtained anything easily. Nothing's ever come to me easily. I had to go to public schools. My parents were farmers. I grew up trying to make a living as the first one in my family to graduate from college. I went to Southern Law School as a minority, and I went there because I could afford to go to Southern Law School. After graduating from Southern, I wanted to always be a prosecutor, and I thought that was the best way to help people. Then I realized being a criminal defense lawyer and being an attorney, and I've always run my own business for almost 20 years. I had my own law firm. I learned how to help so many minority women who came to me for a divorce because their child was in trouble or because their children had a drug problem. And that's what I've done for the last 30 years as a lawyer. I've worked with people and never forgotten where I've come from and where these people need help. I've been able to help people whether they had money or no money, and that's what it's been about as a lawyer and as a woman, sharing the same concerns for our children, our future, our safety, the safety of women that have issues in the community and trying to support their children. So my experience and my history in this community, for which I have helped countless families. I've started a program in our community which continues to give back to the community by returning people with skills to the community to work. My history shows that as a woman, I've been giving back, and this hasn't been just about me attaining and not returning.
To try and hit the high notes, you came from financial difficulties. You worked hard for all the things you've obtained. You accomplished plenty, obviously, becoming a judge, and you've given back to the community. You've taken cases and worked for free at times to try and give back to the community. Many times. Okay. Well, now we have time for a final, basically, wrap up. And so, starting with you, Judge White, in 60 seconds, why don't you explain to the voters why you believe you are best suited, and you're addressing a very much Hispanic audience, although there's plenty of Anglo or non-Hispanics, why you believe you deserve their vote.
Thank you. Because I care about people and because I spend time in the community, and I've never seen color in what I've done, and I've been able to stand against political forces when political forces are willing to do things by over-incarcerating our youth and our community. Because I care about people and make sure that justice prevails even when it's not a popular thing to do. Because I've helped people for free for 30 years when they needed help because it was the right thing to do. Because I have a heart, and because I work hard at it, and because I've never lost my sense of community and service. And that's what I do as a lawyer and as a judge.
Thank you. Judge Bartholomew Woods.
As a God-fearing woman, I understand that my role on this earth is limited by what God uses me for. I'm His instrument, and I owe it all to Him. And so what I mean by that is everything that I do has to have integrity. I have to have judicial temperament because I understand that I'm not the final authority on things. I understand clearly where all blessings come from, and that's from God Himself. And so I'm pleased to serve the citizens of New Orleans. I've served them with honor and with integrity. I'm pleased to have been endorsed by the Democratic Party, and I'm pleased to carry that banner, the same banner that is carrying Hillary Clinton, the same banner that is carrying Congressman Cedric Richmond, and the same banner that carried U.S. Senator Mary Landrieu, both of whom have endorsed me. And I'm very proud of that because of what they stood for and stand for, and because of what I stand for. And so I just hopefully ask for your voters, vote number 70 on the ballot on November 8th.
Well, thank you both for your time and
Thank
stopping
you.
by. I know the Hispanic voters and others watching this show appreciate you taking the time to share your views, your experiences. That's all the time we have. It's been excellent getting to know you a little bit better.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
coming up next, the candidates for mayor of Kenner, Louisiana will be here. We'll be right back.